welcome back for another Friday video. I'm joined with my wonderful collaborator and friend and amazing all-around person, Dylan Randazzo. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this season of Survivor. I feel like we do this every season, and every season
Yes.
it's so different. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
Thinking about this past season and what we were saying about the last season and this season, so far, there hasn't been a single episode that has missed for me.
Yeah, and there've been predictable boots. Like we all knew Josh was gonna go just to see how certain storylines develop to get those people out. I mean, I'm one of the people who shares the idea and the opinion that it sucks that the only people voted out pre-merge were women until Josh. I mean, the only other guys that went home pre-merge were gone for other reasons. But
Yeah.
um,
Which,
but
by the
I think we're
way, I don't think I've ever seen a season where the medic has gotten like more screen time than I think
right.
like Heidi or Lauren.
Justice for Lauren. Like she's gotten 3 episodes now with zero confessionals, and I'm hoping. I mean, this is going to be coming out after this merge episode, but I hope she gets something because she's the only one left with an advantage now. She got an extra vote. Aside from the boot order just being women, I think it's still been entertaining and seeing how we got those boots. Idol play on day one, another idol play tiebreaker to send Sarah home. Like there have been a lot of fun tribals, and I think that's something that was kind of lacking from last season. Last season we had a lot of women voted out, but it was also like an obvious boot order. It was like NECA who wasn't good in challenges, and then it was this and that. So I mean, I'm really enjoying this season, and I'm really enjoying specifically the cast. I think that's been consistent since 41 is like the casting since Winners at War has just been so good.
Flagging that in a subconscious way or not, like it really has been all women and then like one queer POC who's gotten like the boot. But then two people also eliminated from injuries. But it was very interesting to see that pattern. And honestly, if I was doing a dissertation or anything, I feel like I said this freaking last year. I just feel like I would study like gameplay and why people vote the way they do, and if there's like any sort of prejudice for the people watching. So we are actually recording right before the merge episode. One of the things we're going to talk about in a bit is who we think is going to get the first boot in the merge. We won't know, but we will know watching this.
You all will know, we will not, and you'll all laugh at us because we'll probably be wrong.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a really obvious fan favorite in this season, Carolyn. I want to know what you think of her. If you're enjoying her gameplay, which I've been finding honestly amazing and more impressive as I've been watching, along with Carolyn, do you have another favorite that's
right?
Her?
Yeah, I mean, that's the default favorite, and it's interesting because I'd like to talk to just like the casual viewer to see if they actually like her, because she is so quirky and weird, but like I get a kick out of it. She's not just a kooky character; she's playing the game really well. I mean, she's the one who is clocking who has all these idols or who doesn't have idols, to where she's literally telling them, hey, Josh has an idol, and no one believes her. And granted, yes, you just met this person, but when she goes into such detail to say they were the beads of tree mail, like that's something you can't really make up. And just the idea of her sitting there with Danny and Brandon wanting to make a final two, assuming she'd be voted out. Like, I honestly think that scene is so pivotal, because Danny was my favorite up until that point, because Danny was the one I loved his gameplay. It reminded me of Tony. He was swallowing the note of the idol or whatever. He was just rampaging through the jungle. He was so entertaining, but his fatal flaw was that he literally told Carolyn to her face, like, oh, you'll probably be gone soon, so give us the information and Brandon and I will use it. Really, next to Carolyn, I don't have one who's like my favorite, because I think Carolyn is just such like a unicorn in this game, to where like I am only really interested to see how Carolyn survives each week. And that's not to say I don't like everyone else, but also I think a lot of it is the editing. I don't know everyone else very well. I know Carson, Jam, I know Danny, but it's like beyond that, everyone else
a lot more screen time than
Franny and Matt. I know them as a showmance, but I know nothing about Franny aside from her relationship. Like, if I had to pick a second, it would probably be Jam, just because we've gotten the most of him and Carolyn's relationship.
I love her a lot, and the first episode I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with this kind of person. And the more and more I've watched her, she's actually become so much more relatable as like the player that we are as frustrated as she is watching these conversations, watching these people pass up gameplay. And it's just like, I'm so frustrated and I am fully like with her. Honestly, really enjoy Carson. I'm a little nervous that he's gonna start playing too hard and that he might end up putting a target on his back.
He's another person who, like, I was a big fan until he made a blunder, and it wasn't a huge blunder, but he's the reason Kane knew that he was the backup vote. And then Kane, almost by scrambling, got the votes on Jam Jam. Is he going to get overconfident? Is he going to share too much?
Yeah.
And if he lets them know he 3D prints these puzzles, they're not going to be fans of him for long. So I'm hoping he keeps that strictly to the audience. What do you think of that? What do you think of the 3D printing? Do you think that's fair, or do you think that's...
I think it's totally fair. I think it's them using their resources and knowing, okay, I need to practice. Like, I've thought about, if I were to ever go in Survivor, I would be out in a backyard. I would be out in a field trying to make fire like every night. It shocked me that the puzzles are the same. Like, I guess like I see the same puzzles, but I was like, wait, are they actually the same pieces?
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. I don't blame Carson or Matthew. I blame production for reusing the puzzles beat for beat.
Also, what I've found this season and previous seasons is there's definitely a lead in the physical aspect, the physical portion of a competition, but it really does come down to the puzzle at the end.
Every time.
If that's the big factor as to who's going to win it, you can't have it be the same pieces.
Most of the time, the ones who get to the puzzle first rarely win it, because it's really just whoever the best is at the puzzles. Even if you're a minute, 2 minutes behind, I feel like we get the same challenges, especially with the balance and endurance. Like, how many times can we watch them balance balls on the little plates, on the sticks, so they're countering that with really exciting advantages. Like, I love the cage idols. I love the idea of like, the fake... Everyone's real idol is a different tribe's fake idol. Like, Danny's real idol is Brandon's fake, and then Brandon's real idol is Carolyn's fake. Like, I love that because now you're in the merge, and Danny and Carolyn, if they ever find out about each other's idols, Danny might say Carolyn's is fake. But I love what production's doing for the idols.
Great segue, because I was going to ask you about the idols and what you thought about like this. It really is just going to cause chaos. Very similarly to you, before the Danny, Carolyn, Brandon situation, I was like rooting for Danny, because Danny like set up his idol in the best way. No one knows about his idol. Matt like fully believes he has a real idol right now. How did you react to that gameplay? Because I thought that was one of my favorite moves I've seen.
It's cool how each tribe, they edited it so differently. Like Danny, they showed him planting the fake idol and then getting Matt to look for it. And then with Matthew and Jamie, they literally showed Matthew leading her to the fake idol, and then afterward told you it was fake. And then Carolyn, they showed the Sarah thing with the X on the cage and her finding it for Carolyn to then reveal it. Like, I love how each tribe has done the same thing but in such different ways. Really, Danny and Matt is going to be so interesting because now they're both still in the game. Danny knows about Matt's idol, but he's the only one that knows it's fake. So like, I think that's so funny. Matt's the most screwed over player this season.
But I find it very interesting when, you're watching The Amazing Race and it's a couple, and you're watching Big Brother and a showmance forms, and Survivor, a showmance forms. Not as often. So Big Brother, I feel like it's every season now at this point. But I feel like with shows like Big Brother, soon as the showmance is public, it is like, let's go. How are you feeling with Franny and Matt? And do you like them? Do you ship them? Are you like, this is ridiculous and they probably are just friends still?
I feel like their whole story has been about the showmance, that I don't care enough about them as individuals to care about them as a showmance. But they don't bother me. I think it's fun to have that element in the game, especially because people know they're close, but they're the only ones who have any sort of romantic feelings and that have expressed it. And I think that's the difference between Big Brother. Is Big Brother, it's hard to hide. Still just don't care enough about them as individuals to where like I want them to succeed. Hoping we get a little bit more of them as people individually, and then we can care more about them as a showmance. But I think strategically, I don't think it's as much of a hindrance in Survivor because you have the luxury of hiding it better.
I pretty much agree with you. Honestly, like, I'm pretty annoyed by them as like and I think it's also because maybe I am just seeing them in this flirty stage, and all I'm thinking of when I think of Survivor, I think there is no world in which I would remotely think about liking someone. I would have no energy. I really hope that they win me over.
I do think she'd be more willing to cut him than him cut her, though. So I'm interested to see if that happens. If she cuts Matt, that's going to be the best television of the season.
My final question. Well, it's a two-part question. One, who do you think is going to be the first boot of the merge? So tonight, who do you think is going home? And then who do you want? Not who do you think is, but who do you want to be in the final three?
For the merge boot, I was thinking of Jamie and Brandon, because Jamie is the more obvious, like, she's putting herself so much on that pedestal of I'm so good, that her downfall's coming. I just don't know if it's now. This is the week where Carolyn and the underdogs rise up, and I think Brandon is like the likely merge boot. Also because he's very strong. Like he's also someone that, regardless of what happened with Danny and Brandon and Carolyn, like he's just someone I would want to target because he's just so strong. Final three. I mean, I would love to see Carolyn, Jam Jam, and Carson be the final three. Like,
that's my final three right now.
They made that alliance early on, and I really do think the three of them do want to work with one another. I could see Carson maybe messing it up, but I think Jam Jam and Carolyn with someone else would be the ideal thing.
I think Brandon is gonna go tonight as well. I'm fairly confident it'll be Brandon, but of course, expect the unexpected with Big Brother. Like you never know. A vote can change. I was also tossing and turning with the idea of them getting rid of like Heidi or Lauren or something, but at the same time, I'm like, they just didn't show them enough then. Like I feel like they're gonna start to emerge and become this like later powerhouse of the season. I'm really wanting that because they both seem very interesting. I just want to see more of them.
Heidi, especially being the oldest woman and making fire on day one, like that is so cool.
And I also agree with final three, lock in the Tika tribe. I just really like them as a trio.
And I didn't even bring him up, but I think Kane could be vulnerable because he just seems like he's always vulnerable. Don't count
Forgetting
him out
about
too.
Kane. Oh, he might be the boot tonight. Oh man, this is always so fun talking Survivor and reality TV with you, Dylan. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, Dylan has an amazing YouTube channel with everything under the sun going on. If you need a review for a movie, just figure out if you want to go and see it, go check out Dylan's channel. He just has really amazing content, and all of his social media will be in the description. Like this video if you enjoyed it, everyone. Comment down below what other videos you want to see me do in the future, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, because I post video every single Friday, and I will see you next week. Boom, boom, bye!